Hello guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel again. So in this part we're gonna be continuing our Hero Zero to Hero series and we're gonna be discussing about what are arguments in UiPath, which is a very critical chapter in your UiPath automation journey. Let's get started. Okay. So guys, in to demo the use case of arguments, let's start creating a normal process in UiPath. Uh, so go over here. Let's go chapter 3. Sorry, chapter 3, right? Yeah. Let's say arguments demo. Let's go create. So for this arguments demo, we are gonna be devising a simple calculator in UiPath. And guys, please be very careful because the arguments will be used in RE framework, in state machine, and in very complex projects in future that we'll be doing, and I have already done in my channel. Okay. So, as you know that when we start a procedure will be created, but this is screen in UiPath Studio. For this part, we're gonna be renaming this sequence, and we can say calculator demo, right? So we are devising a calculator, and it's pretty simple. If we are not, we are not creating the UI elements of the calculator, only devising the logic, right? Okay. For that, we can use UiPath apps as well, right? Let's press save, and yeah. So for that to do, let's create input dialog that I have already discussed in the previous video, right? Dialog title will be number one. Okay, so it will be asking the user to enter a number, enter your first number. Because the calculation will be done between two numbers, right? And as I already told you in the previous video, we can directly use this part to save our data into this variable, right? Let's go here in the variables panel. Let's create a variable and it will be of type int underscore num1, right? And that part will be string int32, right? And let's give this part over here int num1. Okay. Let's also create a number, another variable over here, num2, and that will be int32, right? So let's also use another input dialog activity because we will be calculating two numbers, right? Calculation is done between two numbers only. So here it is number 2, okay? Your second number. So and let's give the variable int underscore num. Now till then what we have done, we have used two activities, num1 and two activities, input dialogs. I'll just rename it as well. It's a good practice guide to always rename your activities so that you can know what is happening over there, right? Num1 I can say, and this I can use num2. This is clear. Input dialog 1 for number 1, input dialog 2 for number, right? So if I run this workflow and I have saved these two numbers into these two uh, variables over here, int1 and int num2. So now I have to do calculation between int underscore num1 and int underscore num2. Okay. But there is a twist. We won't be doing calculation in this workflow. We will be doing in another workflow. Okay, not in this workflow. Let's see how we can use it to create another workflow, right? Let's go to new and sequence, and let's say cal logic. Cal is calculator, right? Just for shortcut, create. So you can see that we have created another sheet over here, that is cal underscore logic, right? And let's save this part. Okay, so in here, see, we have used two variables over here, int underscore num1 and int underscore num2, right? So how we can use them in this part, in this uh, you know sequence, in this new sequence, in this part. So for that, let's create two arguments over here. I'll just show what are arguments, then let you know what are arguments in detail. Okay, so I'm just creating it. So just follow me for this moment. Okay, I'm also using the best practice over here. Yeah. So let's use assign, and let's use create a variable. We can create a variable from control plus K as well, right? In any assign activity or in any part of the UiPath, we can just press K, control plus K inside any activity, and we can create a variable over there. Right? Let's say sum. Okay, this will be the sum part. So in num1 plus in what num2. Okay, this is showing because sum is not int 32. Okay, now if I'll be giving some number inside int number and int number, it will be adding them and pushing them to sum. But the main thing is that I haven't used this part. What to say? I haven't given this number, this values over here, how I can give these two values in this workflow. So for that to use, let's quickly go to project part, right? And push the main part over here, right? Okay. And yeah, for that part to do as well, we have created two variables over here, int number and num2. Let's go to variables. Okay. And just select all these two from pressing control, push right click and go to convert to argument, and they will be converted to argument. Okay. And let's say out. I'll show that what is out, what is in. Don't worry. Just 1 second. Out. Okay. So now if I'll be running my workflow, so let's use a right. I'll just tell everything about argument. Just give me one moment, guys. Okay. So if I'll create, sorry, I'll say sum dot to string. I'll let you know what is toString as well. Okay. So if I'll run it, sometimes it just stuck on compiling activities. I don't know why, but let's press run file again. That is a glitch in UiPath. I don't know. Okay, now it is perfectly running. One, one. Okay. So it didn't push the value. Just 1 second. Okay, sorry. I used run file, right? I have to use run. See, the run will be only running that specific file. The run will be created running a all whole project. Okay. Hmm. Just 1 second. Uh, okay, so let's say that why it is not showing over here. Okay, it is. Mm, okay, okay. Let's do one thing. Let's do one thing. Yeah. So we have used a slightly wrong logic over here, right? We haven't. We don't used to. We don't want to use the this part over here. Invoke the main file over here. In fact, we want to invoke the cal logic in the main file. That was the wrong part. I told you. Sorry, my bad. Really sorry, guys. So let's quickly delete this main part. Okay. And let's invoke the cal logic part over here. Okay. So this is the main file in the studio. In the main file only, we are invoking all those small sequences, right? Okay. Invoking is calling it. See how to invoke it. Just call it like this. Like drag over here and just call it over here. Now I'll let you know what are arguments. Okay. Let's see. You have entered one number. You have entered another number. Okay. You have invoked this cal underscore logic file over here, right? So now what it will be doing, it will be pushing these int1 num2, this int1 num underscore 1, right, into this cal logic file, and over here it will be going over here through this part. It will be going to this part, doing all these activities over here, and again you pushing the data to sum. Now one more thing, we have to create we have to convert variable to argument over here sum also, out underscore sum, and I'll let you know what is in and out. Just one, give me 1 minute. Okay. Yeah, let's start from the beginning. We have entered two number, right? So this is very critical, guys, please watch very carefully. We have entered two number num1 and num2. Okay, these are two numbers over here. Now what we have done, we have used invoke work file over here, workflow file over here, and we have invoked cal underscore logic over here, right? What it will be doing, it will be pushing these two variables over here in this file, right? And this will be going over here. Okay, this will be pushing the value of num1 and num2 over here and giving the output to this, and this output will be again given to this part. Now how it is doing? So guys, as you know, the variables can store the data, right, inside a single workflow, right? A single workflow we can use the data. See, if it was if it was variable, like, right, we can use the data over here also, right? But no, we can't. We have to use arguments for that. So the difference between variables and arguments is this: variables will be containing the data in a single workflow and can't pass the data between workflows, but arguments can contain the data inside a single workflow and can pass the data from one workflow to another workflow and vice versa. I hope that that is clear, guys. How we are doing it, let's see. And what are the different types of argument? Let's see over here. Okay. So as you know that I created these three arguments in the arguments panel in the cal logic workflow file, right? So what are these three doing? See, in there are three different types of direction in UiPath. If you are wondering what is property, guys, we are not using property as of now because UiPath is not providing any documentation for that, any property documentation. I think that this is used when you have any unused arguments, and they will be automatically converted into that specific arguments, like we are using generic property in variables, which I just used, which I just told you yesterday. But I'm not confirmed about property because we aren't using property in UiPath, right? Like nobody is using property in UiPath, and UiPath is also not providing any documentation for property as far as I know, right? Okay, let's get focused over here, which is important for us. So in is this is the in direction. That's why I have written in prefix of int num. In again for the in direction, and out is out for the out direction. I have used the prefix of out direction over here. Okay, so what are these three doing? See, guys, very simple. Whenever you will be seeing any in direction arguments in your workflow, so it is doing nothing, it is just pushing the value inside that specific workflow in which it is being made, राइट? ये वैल्यू इनसाइड पुश करेगा आपके वर्कफ्लो में हमेशा। जो आपका नंबर वन वर्कफ्लो है, सॉरी, जो आपका ये कैल लॉजिक वर्कफ्लो है, इट विल पुशिंग द वैल्यू इनसाइड योर दिस वर्कफ्लो। सिंपल। दिस इज ऑल्सो पुशिंग द वैल्यू from here, right? num2 it is pushing from here, and you can see that num1 also it is pushing from here, so it is accepting some values inside this workflow. That is why it is in. हम कहते हैं ना हमें कहीं अंदर जाना है, I have to go inside of that, inside of that, right? So I have to go inside that workflow. So this uh, value is also going inside of that workflow. Pretty simple, guys. Okay, out. I hope that अब आपको समझ में आ गया होगा जिस तरह से मैंने समझाया है. It will be going out of this workflow. Simple. मैं यहाँ से बाहर जाना चाह, I want to get out of there. This means क्या, मुझे बाहर जाना है. Simple. So means this value is being pushed out of this workflow to some other workflow where this can logic will be invoked. समझ में आया आपको? इन क्या है, मैं वैल्यू अंदर खींच रहा हूँ उस वर्कफ्लो पे. आई एम पुशिंग सम वैल्यू इनसाइड ऑफ दैट वर्कफ्लो, एंड आउट मीन्स आई एम पुशिंग समथिंग out of this workflow. Pushing in means in, pushing out means out. Pretty simple, guys. No hodgepodge. Just आप ये हमेशा ध्यान रखोगे ना, कभी भी आपको confusion नहीं होगा लाइफ में in this part, in arguments part. इन आ रहा है तो वो वैल्यू एक्सेप्ट कर रहा है उस वर्कफ्लो पे, आउट आ रहा है तो वो वैल्यू फेंक रहा है उस वर्कफ्लो से बाहर, बस. अब यहाँ पे नेस्टेड भी कर सकते हो. पता लगा ये भी मेरा कोई मेन वर्कफ्लो नहीं, आप उसके अंदर भी आपने एक और फाइल कॉल की है, वो भी अगर वो वहाँ पे इन हो रही है तो इन होगा, आउट होगा तो आउट होगा. एट गाइस, आपने देखा होगा यहाँ पे एक और सॉरी, यहाँ पे एक और है प्रॉपर्टी हमारे पास, इन एंड आउट. सो ये इन एंड आउट दोनों की तरह काम कर सकता है, राइट? तो उसका जो हम प्रीफिक्स लगाएंगे, आई विल जस्ट क्रिएट अनदर आर्गुमेंट. उसका जो प्रीफिक्स होगा वो होगा आई ओ फॉर इन एंड आउट, राइट? आई कैन यूज एनीथिंग ओवर हियर, लाइक एस टी आर है तो एस टी आर कर देंगे, एस टी आर, एस टी आर वन ऐसे करके, एंड आई विल बी गिविंग द प्रॉपर्टी टू, सॉरी, इन, इट विल बी यूज्ड एज बोथ इन एंड आउट. ये राइट. इफ यू हैव हर्ड, जो पहली बार ये पढ़ रहे हैं उनको शायद ना पता हो, बट जो पुराने व्यूअर्स हैं, इफ दे आर वाचिंग दिस, सो आप लोग जानते हैं दैट इन गेट ट्रांजेक्शन डेटा देयर इज अ वेरी इन आर्गुमेंट कॉल्ड IO_DT ट्रांजेक्शन डेटा, राइट? ट्रांजेक्शन डेटा समथिंग. So that is the classic example of input in out argument type, डायरेक्शन टाइप ऑफ आर्गुमेंट. ओके, ठीक है. ये आपको आई होप इतना पार्ट पूरा क्लियर हो गया होगा क्या है. यहाँ पे हम लोग इसको डिलीट कर देते हैं, ठीक है. लेट्स यूज अनदर असाइन एक्टिविटी. गाइस, असाइन एक्टिविटी क्या करती है, इस पार्ट की वैल्यू उठा के इस पार्ट पर डाल देती है. सिंपल. इट इज रिटन आल्सो ओवर देयर, सेव टू वैल्यू टू सेव. UiPath इज वेरी एडवांस इन दीज मैटर्स, राइट? sorry guys, you can create argument with the help of a shortcut called control shift k, sorry, control shift m, am I bad? You can create the arguments control shift m. Okay, you can create the arguments here as well in the arguments panel. Okay, I'll just say out underscore sub, मैं आपको इन्वोक करके दिखाता हूँ एंड जो क्या एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ है वो अभी मैं आपको बताने वाला हूँ. जस्ट 1 सेकेंड. ओके, आई कैन डू मल्टीप्लाई डिवाइड वो मैं भी कर रहा हूँ. ओके, so we are just explaining what are arguments, we're not creating a calculator. Okay, so yeah, जब भी आप अपने arguments उस फाइल में बनाते हो जहाँ arguments बन रहे, whenever you creating arguments, in that file, please just save them, right? Just save them. आप सेव कर लें उसको एंड सेव करने का क्या तरीका है, यहाँ पे आप सेव कर लीजिए ऐसे करके. आपको ये साइन दिख रहा है अभी मेन के ऊपर डॉट, अगर मैं इसको सेव करूँगा तो इट विल बी रिमूव्ड, इट विल बी डिमिनिश्ड. ठीक है, अब यहाँ पे क्या है, आर्गुमेंट्स आ गए. अब यहाँ पे मैं फॉर एग्जांपल एक बना देता हूँ, ऐसे कुछ आर्गुमेंट बना रहा हूँ, राइट? मैंने आर्गुमेंट बनाया, यहाँ पे अब साइन आ गया ऐसा वाला. आई हैव क्रिएटेड दिस आर्गुमेंट ओवर एंड दिस साइन अपीयर्ड एंड आई विल गो टू मेन, राइट? मैं आपको इसके बारे में 1 मिनट में बताता हूँ, राइट? मैं आपको ये बता रहा हूँ कि हम उस आर्गुमेंट को यहाँ कॉल कैसे करेंगे. वो आर्गुमेंट मैंने यहाँ बना दिया था, राइट? 3 arguments I have made, 1 2 3 4 arguments I have made. हाउ ये एक गार्बेज आर्गुमेंट है, इसको भी रिमूव करेंगे बाद में. इसके लिए पीछे एक लॉजिक मैं आपको बताऊंगा व्हाई. 4 arguments I have made and I how can I call them in the main part. मैंने ये का फाइल उठाई जो मेरी बेसिक फाइल है, दूसरी फाइल है मेन के सिवाय जिसमें लॉजिक जा रहा है, जहाँ पूरा कैलकुलेशन हो रही है, इसको मैंने पिक किया. आई जस्ट ड्रैग्ड एंड ड्रॉप इट लाइक दिस. दोबारा दिखाता हूँ आपको. Dragged and dropped it like this, right? So we have what, we have called the arguments over here, sorry, called the file. ये फाइल है यहाँ पे है कि, तो भाई ये जो पूरी इस फाइल का काम है ये यहाँ पे जाके करो, सिंपल, राइट? ये फाइल इट मेक्स योर वर्क फ्लो इजियर, नीटर एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग और बढ़ जाती है इसमें. ठीक है, इट्स फिजिबिलिटी स्केलेबिलिटी भी बढ़ जाती है, राइट? सो यहाँ पे दिख रहा है आपको import arguments, इट्स क्लिकेबल here एंड आपको आपके जो वहाँ क्रिएटेड आर्गुमेंट्स हैं इस फाइल के वो यहाँ दिख जाएंगे पूरे के पूरे. ये जो भी आर्गुमेंट मैंने बनाए थे वहाँ दिख जाएंगे. वन मोर थिंग, अब जो बात आती है वाई टू सेव दैट पार्ट. अगर आप वो सेव नहीं करोगे ना तो वो जो गार्बेज आर्गुमेंट मैंने आपको दिखाया था, इफ यू वोंट बी सेविंग योर आर्गुमेंट्स इन दैट फाइल, द गार्बेज आर्गुमेंट दैट आई शोड यू, इट वोंट बी देयर. वहाँ पे क्या होगा, नहीं होगा. ये देखो, ऑलवेज सेव योर आर्गुमेंट्स गाइस. अब मैं इसको सेव करूंगा, if I'll be going to my main workflow, I can find that argument over here, there, right? So if you won't be saving that workflow and you will be clicking on import argument, then आप सोचेंगे that यहाँ पे वो argument नहीं मैं बना देता हूँ. यहाँ आपको कुछ नहीं बनाना है. It is written over here, you're just importing your arguments. See, it is even written over there. So don't create your arguments in import arguments. Okay, you have to create your variables in import arguments. And if you're, if there are many workflows and you have to then use a nested invoke workflow again and again in that same file, then you can use a argument inside an sorry, import, then you can use a invoke work file and फिर क्लिक ऑन आर्गुमेंट, देन यहाँ पे आप अपने आर्गुमेंट्स बना सकते हैं. वो भी आर्गुमेंट आगे जाके कहीं कॉल हो रहे होंगे. ठीक है, तो दे आर नेस्टेड आर्गुमेंट्स, मैं आपको बताऊंगा आगे जाके. एंड वी हैव ऑलरेडी यूज्ड इट इन द आरई फ्रेमवर्क. so let's quickly delete that part because it's a garbage argument, it will be hindering our process. Save, you can see that we are not providing any value over here. Like in can be used over here with a default value, out cannot be used over here with a default value. This is also used in ask their interviews, right? Okay. So now how we can push all these three arguments value inside this main workflow. The question is that. So guys, for to doing that, we can use some variables over here, right? क्योंकि देखिए यहाँ से इस इस वर्कफ्लो से मुझे आगे अपनी वैल्यू पुश नहीं करनी है. I don't want to push the value outside of this workflow. So I'll just create a variable over here. I'll just say sum. Okay, I have already created. So, oh, sorry, not sum. Sorry, my bad. But this is num1, right? So this is what? Int num1. Okay, this is what? Int num2. And this is what? Sum. So this part I have already created. This is what? Sub. Let's press Control K. Sub. I can say, yeah, sub is fine because it will be used in another part, right? Okay. Okay, this can't be created because this is used by some internal UiPath classes or functions. Quickly, let's create subtract. No issues. Summation, इसको भी हम summation कर देते हैं, right? तो ये हमने कर दिया guys. I hope आपको समझ में आया होगा. यहाँ पे अभी मैंने क्या किया है? We have called the four, sorry, called the four arguments over here. Now, if I'll be very careful with this, अभी मुझको थोड़ा समझते हैं यहाँ क्या हो रहा है. मेरे जो वेरिएबल है int num1 वेरिएबल है जो मेरा वेरिएबल यहाँ पे बना हुआ है. कहाँ पे? यहाँ पे बना हुआ है ये. Sorry. This part I have created one int num variable and it is doing what? It is pushing the value inside this part. I hope आपका समझ में आ गया होगा. It is what doing? It is pushing the value inside this part. This argument. This part of this argument. जहाँ in है ना, ये इसमें value डाल रहा है. जहाँ out है, ये value फेंक रहा है. Simple. Out means this is throwing over here from left to right. Int is this is throwing over here from right to left. Value inside of this. ठीक है? Simple, very simple ना. In मतलब यहाँ से यहाँ फेंकेगा ये. ठीक है. Out मतलब यहाँ से यहाँ फेंकेगा. Simple. इन मतलब क्या है? यहाँ से यहाँ फेंकेगा. आउट मतलब यहाँ से यहाँ फेंकेगा. इन मतलब इसके अंदर जाके ये वैल्यू पुश कर रहा है. आउट मतलब ये वैल्यू अपने वर्कफ्लो से बाहर फेंक रहा है. प्रीटी सिंपल गाइस, राइट? इन मींस दिस variable is pushing some value inside of this. Out means this part is pushing some value outside of that workflow and giving to this part. Because see, you are pushing some value from this part to this part. We are pushing some value from this part to this part. Simple. This is throwing inside of this workflow. This is throwing outside of this workflow and press OK. Simple. Okay. Now quickly let's write line and let's say the sum is sum or to string. Guys, see, summation is a int 32 variable, right? Right line will be accepting a string. ठीक है, ये string accept करेगा. यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं in argument string. So it is accepting string, right, or some variables which are string. So we have converted our int 32 to string. This is the conversion way. मैं आपको धीरे धीरे और कन्वर्जन बताऊंगा आगे जाके कैसे हम स्ट्रिंग को उस पर कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं. क्या कहते हैं आपके दूसरे वेरी टाइप में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं एवरीथिंग, राइट? सो डोंट वरी अबाउट दैट वी कवर्ड इन अ डिफरेंट सेशन. माय बैड. ओके. So this is also string because it is inside quotes, and this is also string because we have used dot to string. This was dot. This was int 32. That was a number variable converted to string so that it can be whole. ये भी string है, ये भी string है. This accepts a dot a string only. ठीक है? And I'll just say, and why I have used the plus? Because see, we are using concatenation over here. ये भी मैं आपको बताऊंगा. Concatenation means अभी ऐसे समझ लीजिए. Concatenation means it will be adding this part to this part. अगर ये string होता पूरा का पूरा तो मैं यहाँ पे string के अंदर लिख देता उसको under inside quotes. But it is not string. That is why we have used a variable with a proper string inside quotes. So we have used a plus. Now again I use plus because I am using string now. Subtractors, I'll just say sub dot string. ठीक है? Clear? Okay, and now quickly let's run this workflow. It is asking some numbers. Let's say 10, 5. Let's see in the output. So you can see that the sum is 15 and the subtract is, sorry, the spelling is wrong, 0. Why it is saying 0? Num1 is this part. Out underscore sub means 10 minus 5. Should be 5, right? It is showing only 0. Why it is saying 0? Uh, 10 minus 5. We have used this correct, right? 10 minus 5. Okay, it should be 5. Out sub. Okay. And subtract. We have used, I think, the right arguments. Summation. Okay. Sorry. Whenever we are using, oops, we haven't changed the direction. See guys, that is why it is good to change the direction as well. यहाँ मैंने क्या कहते इन था, इन तो नहीं कर रहा है ना, ये फेंक रहा है बाहर अपने, तो इससे कोई वैल्यू ही नहीं आई है, ये वैल्यू यहीं तक रह गई है. This value is stick at here only because it can't push the value outside of that workflow because we have used int, we have to use out now. Sorry. Save it. Always save your workflow, guys. Always save your workflows. Import arguments. Whenever you are changing any small thing in argument, it will be again asking you to enter the value. Let's see, enter that, right? Run again. And oops, 5. Again, you see that the sum is 15 and the subtract is 5, right? So this is the calculator, very simple. This is not exactly a calculator. I'm just, telling that what is the logic behind the arguments and all. So this is very simple, very classic example, right? I don't think that you won't find any of this example over there in the internet. So very classic example of how we can use arguments. Again, repeating arguments will be, pushing the data from one workflow to another workflow. Variables can't do it. Variables can only store the data and pass in a single workflow. Okay. जो आर्गुमेंट्स हैं वो एक वर्कफ्लो से दूसरे वर्कफ्लो में डेटा पुश करेंगे. इन मतलब उस वर्कफ्लो के अंदर वो डेटा ले रहा है. आउट मतलब उस वर्कफ्लो से डेटा वो फेंक रहा है. सिंपल, राइट. एंड इम्पोर्ट आर्गुमेंट्स मैंने आपको बता दिया यहाँ पे. इन यहाँ पे है, this variable is pushing the data inside of this. And yes, we can save the data from a argument to a variable. यहाँ आप देख सकते हो मैंने किया है, right? And the best practice is in for inside, out for outside, right? And there is also a type called in out in which you will be using both. It can be used as both. Okay, that is also used very rare, but it is used. So guys, I hope that you understood what are arguments in UiPath, right? And very simple and very classic example I have given, right? So I hope that you guys have understood it. If you have any doubts, any comments, please don't forget to ask me in the, you know, comments. Any feedback you want to give me, please say it in the comments as well. Please support me, guys, right? I just want that जितनी knowledge मुझे है, I just want to be get transferred to you guys. All that I know should be known to you. Okay. So if you like the channel, like the video, like the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my content. Please support me, guys. Okay. Thank you so much for being here, and as always, keep learning.